Not only do I not expect anybody to like my hat, I don't care that you don't.
I just like the fact that we're talking about your hat on a podcast.
Because I'm a self-sufficient, strong, independent man.
I think it's very important to talk about what we're wearing on a podcast for our listeners, so that they can really.
That's all I want to talk about. I don't want to talk
Figure
about
us out.
anything else.
Let's see if Carolina comes in matching because we're all wearing black. So
yeah.
But I'm always wearing black. I don't own anything else.
We're all matching.
Or whatever.
We're all matching John. That's what you meant to say. I got to figure it out
for Halloween. Like get everybody to dress as John for Halloween.
Jonathan
and,
Goodman.
Photos. Yeah.
Somebody did once. You know, somebody did once. Who was it? Oh man, it was so funny. Somebody posted a picture one time.
Really?
The kid who's, it was a joke. It wasn't like the actual Halloween costume.
Right.
But the kid or something like that dressed as me.
Awesome.
And they were wearing like a big black V-neck.
Like it didn't fit the kid. That? They were wearing like an adult side V-neck.
I don't know much about how it came about. I mean, there's no way that they went out of their way and were like, "Well, dress it as John Goodman." It was probably one of those things where it was like, "Haha, you're wearing the same thing that John Goodman wears. Let's take a picture and send it to him." But that did happen once. It was pretty funny.
We should do that. And you know how like there's like all the different costumes. There's like your typical, and then there's like the sexy version and the naughty version. Like there should be a whole thing of just John.
Various John Goodmans. That's actually a good idea. I like that. I may do that regardless of the podcast.
I don't think that I like that idea. I don't quite know what to do with that idea.
It makes me want to do it all the more.
Your likeness is on Facebook already, so you signed the waiver.
Right.
So even if you post the long paragraph of you do not consent, that's the dumbest thing ever. Starting February 25th.
What are the advertisements? Let's read the advertisements.
Yeah. Is it time for advertisements? We got PT Distinction. I didn't know we were recording. I would have been less targeted in my conversation. Isn't it sad that I'm downgrading conversation for the podcast and upgrade it for real life? That's pretty sad.
That's what podcasts are, though. I mean, podcasts. That's exactly what podcasts are.
Touche, Jonathan. Touche. PT Distinction. It works while you sleep, so you can schedule everything and relax in the knowledge your clients are fully taken care of. You know what I took care of today? Got my automotive inspection done today. Okay. Now, how does that work in Canada? Like, do you have to inspect every year, or what's it like there?
I have no idea. I've owned one car in my life. It's a 2007 Lexus ES 350 with 230,000 kilometers on it. And I actually have no idea how any of that works because my wife's cousin basically handles everything for us. Because I'm so clueless with all of that stuff. He does the oil changes whenever it's ready.
Nice.
He'll fix it for us. He'll take it in for whatever infection we need to. But I'm actually getting a new car. We have an electrician at our house because I'm getting a new car on Saturday. I was actually supposed to get it yesterday.
Really?
But they were delayed. Yeah, man. It'll be the second car ever. We're getting the Tesla Model Y. So that's like the crossover Y.
Nice.
Which is exciting because the car drives itself. So, you know.
Ooh. Like, are we talking literally?
It's got like the self-driving thing. I mean, you got to keep your hand on the wheel and stuff like that. Yeah. But that'll be cool. So we have an electrician come into our house. It's actually there right now.
Nice.
Because you got to install higher voltage. You got to install like 220 volt, or else the car takes like 4 days to charge.
Oh, I thought
that'll be the second car ever.
Well, that's quite the upgrade from what did you say, a 1998 Lexus? What did you say? I never listen when you talk.
I was going to calculate how many Casio watches I could have bought.
I was about to say, did the Lexus come with the Casio?
Let's do it when figure out. You keep talking about something. I will figure out how many Casio watches.
That's all I do is figure out how to talk about something. Like I have no idea what I'm going to say here. But yeah, it'd be interesting that you're getting Tesla. Originally, you were going to say the electrician is building the Tesla at your home. Like they come in like because I thought
you got to run some wire down from the panel because like most where we are, it's like 110 volt. So you got to run some wire down from the panel. I can buy 4,550 watches.
4,500. That's a lot of risk. That's a lot of risk.
That's a lot of risk.
Maybe some ankles too. a few calves, depending on the client, a few calf muscles.
Yeah,
So we got exciting things going on here today on the Online Trainer Show. First of all, let me throw you guys out. We got a topic today because we want to make sure that you know what the topic is early, so we don't lose you too soon. So we're gonna talk about productivity tips and tricks for online trainers. That's the Jonathan Goodman remix. I've realized two things today. Number one, Jonathan Goodman is the P. Diddy of online training, because whatever title you give him for any episode or any title of anything, he's going to remix it. Take that, bad boy. Like, he's going to remix it like Diddy. Like, it just doesn't even pay to write. If you send him a text message, he will rewrite your text message, send it back to you so you can send it back to him in the form he'd like it best written. The second thing I realized is Jonathan Goodman is the Tony Stark of online training. He's got the Tesla going down. He's building stuff out there in the Stark mansion. He's got a self-driving pilotless car or whatever. So, Jonathan Goodman, every time I talk to you, Jonathan, I discover another reason that you're my hero.
I've got good news for you, Ann. You want to know what that is?
I'll take it if you got some.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Goodman, and welcome to the Online Trainer Show. Today is episode 15, and today's a very exciting day because I got a call about 20 minutes ago from the store that I bought my living room furniture from 6 months ago, saying that it's finally going to be delivered on Thursday, which means, for anybody paying attention, we no longer have to sit on the floor. Today, we're talking about productivity tips and tricks for online trainers. Thanks so much for being here.
This is the Online Trainer Show, Trainer Show, Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
And Carolina, you're here. Thanks for showing up.
Gatto, so did I hear correct? I think you said 6 months. Again, I have a tendency to tune out when you talk. It's not personal. It's just the way that I am.
You know what it was? We got it the end of February.
Uh-huh.
And it was supposed to be 2 months because it's like a custom couch thing that they had to build.
Right.
Here's the issue. They sell it as made in Canada, but it's not made in Canada.
Ooh,
it's made overseas, and then they assemble it in Canada so that they can say made in Canada.
Oh.
And I got 4 different calls that it was delayed a month, basically like 3 or 4 days before it was supposed to arrive. So we had, I'm lying a bit, we weren't quite sitting on the floor. We bought a dog pillow from Costco that we were sitting on. And we borrowed our neighbor's IKEA couch. And when we borrowed our neighbor's IKEA couch, we had basically just met them because we had just moved into our new house. And they thought it was only going to be for 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
We've had it since March. I don't even know what month it is now. But yeah, it's July, right? Yeah, so we've had it since March. And so they've been very patient with us, I guess. But yeah, we're going to have a living room. It'll be great.
Wow.
What a great ad for the Online Trainer Academy.
It's not a good ad for the Hudson's Bay Company, though. They have done an absolutely terrible job with customer service and delivery.
Boost your credentials and gain huge competitive advantage in the online health and fitness market. And if you work hard in the Online Trainer Academy, you can sit on a dog pillow while your Tesla is being assembled in your home as you wait 6 months for your couch. That's the onlinetrainer.com/academy. Dreams come true. Dogs and people have pillows. And Jonathan Stark has 4,462 Casio watches. Is that what you said the Tesla's worth?
It's something like that.
We don't speak in money here. We speak in Casio.
We speak in Casio watches.
I trade, by the way, Jonathan, I got my 3 Casio watches from the last few episodes of the podcast. Thank you so much. I'm wearing 3 of them now. I won't speak about where. Let's skip over to Carolina Belmontes.
You just have 10 clients paying you 20 Casio watches a month.
I'm living the dream. Living the dream, brother.
Wow.
Living the dream. Just so many, the OTA, the money flows like Casio watches here.
Speaking of productivity tips and tricks, that battery lasts forever, which means you will never not know what time it is.
Makes you extremely productive. I've got a watch on right now. Keto, speaking of watches, nice to have you here.
Hi.
Talk to the people about your life, Keto, that, they're riveted. The early listeners like this part of the podcast, and I've been told more than once, after your story stopped, they just log off. They stop listening.
Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
We had an interesting weekend. So we took my kids, out to kind of like the country, the lake. It was a wonderful time until my 3-year-old, she got bit by some kind of bug near the eye.
Oh, no.
So, do you remember the movie The Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yeah. It's a book too, as I understand.
Yeah. So my 3-year-old looked like Quasimodo. Like her eye was just so inflamed. Poor thing. But she didn't complain. She didn't care. And it was just I guess it was just a natural body reaction to it, because then he went away and it was fine. But for a second there, we were like, oh my God, are we going to have to rush to the ER? Which, by the way, in Canada, healthcare is #free. #great. So
I don't know if I trust
I had to just plug that in there. We were not in Barrie. We were further north, but thank you for chiming in.
I feel attacked. I feel attacked.
Can I tell you a story about how my wife almost killed me?
She's nodding like, what the hell?
What'd you say, Jonathan?
I said, I want to tell you a story about the time when my wife almost killed me. Because it has to do with Carolina's story.
Here we go.
We were right at the end. It was day 5 or day 6. It was the last day, the last hike of a multi-day trek in a national park in the north of Brazil called the Chapada Diamantina National Park. And we had camped down at the bottom of it and stuff like that. It was super cool with my brother and his husband, my wife, and this is BC, before Calvin. And things were very different in BC. And
before Calvin,
I got bitten by something similar to your daughter, it sounds like, Carolina, above the eye, and my eye started to swell shut. And I'm super sweaty. We're carrying big packs, and I can't see. And we're just literally this was the end of the last hike of this. I mean, this is a hike where we were camping, a guide was kicking around a tarantula when we woke up in the morning with bare feet.
No.
I mean, that was the type of hike that this was, right?
Nope.
So I got no joke. That's just what they do there. They just play soccer with tarantulas. This is your Brazilian stereotype for today. And this thing bit me in the eye, above the eye, and my eye was swelling shut. So Allison, we're not close to a hospital. We're pretty far in the middle of nowhere if you look at a map. And so Allison, of course, is a naturopathic doctor. So we had vitamin C and stuff like that. She's basically make a dose with vitamin C and some stuff to bring the swelling down. But there's no ice either, right?
Right.
So she gives me this vitamin C tablet. And if you ever know these things, you dump them in water and they fizz up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it does the same thing in your throat.
No.
What she neglected to tell me was to put it in my mouth and let it basically fizz away. So I went to swallow it, and it got caught in my throat and started to fizz
foaming
in
like
my
a
throat.
rabid dog. Oh my God.
It's super scary. And there's also this weird psychosomatic thing, which I learned then, but now I know, happens where even when the thing had dissolved, basically my brain still thought that there was something there. So the choking gag reflex was still going on for a few minutes. And she still blames me.
She should.
I think that's right. Sounds about right. Totally sounds like your fault.
Horrible story.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Well,
man, Jonathan Goodman, you're a survivor. Also, you need more cameras. You need a camera crew.
Right.
You possibly both do. And I just want to say this because I meant to mention this earlier in our podcast existence here. But I work with 3 people that have they have picture frame children. These 3 people, I don't know what kind of procreation deal you guys have made. I don't know if you sold your souls or something, but these 3 people that I work with
easy for me.
You guys have the most photogenic children on the planet. It's they all came out of little, the little picture frames at Sears, Roebuck and Co. It's just amazing. You got to get the whole Sears title. Shout out to Sears, big ups to Sears if you're out there listening. 1, 2. But yeah, I mean, you guys have just spectacular. your kids are so adorable that it makes me not want to have kids. That's how adorable. I'm procreatively intimidated by your children. I will not procreate just because of that. And also, I'm old.
No, you're not, but fine.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Ren, it's relatively straightforward and easy for us.
Is it because you're also You're also wildly attractive?
No. I'm saying as guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean procreation? Yeah.
Like we show up for
a
few minutes, you know.
It's pretty much allowing your partner to drive the car. And when you stop at a gas station, you just fill up. You get right back in the passenger seat. That's basically what happens.
There's pills for that, you know.
Yeah. We were born to stop at the petrol station, the filling station, the gas station, whatever you want to call it, depending on where you are in the world. Also, we're sending out free maps from here on out. So every listener, log on. We're going to send you a free map so you can first locate the place that Jonathan Goodman is sharing a story from. Because it hasn't been two of the same place. Like no two of these stories have happened in the same hemisphere so far. And quite frankly, I don't know where he's talking about. So maybe we switch platforms. We can Amber throw a map up. You know, we can micro dot it so that this is the location of the planet.
We had to. Yeah, we were living in Uruguay. We made our way across to Brazil,
right,
to Rio. Then I flew to Sao Paulo. Then we took another plane to Salvador. Right. And then we took a 2-hour bus from Salvador.
Right. Yada, yada, yada.
I mean, that's the norm, isn't it? Like,
I went downtown Charlotte yesterday, so we're all travelers. Big whoop. So productivity tips and tricks for online.
We're actually out of time, Len.
Huh? Do I? Yeah, the time is.
I'm kidding.
I've got my
productivity.
Casio.
We're out of time. Yeah, whatever.
I know, right?
Your Casio.
So productivity. This is a big issue for me. May I be transparent here? Can I be honest with the listeners?
I would love
Please.
I can go down the rabbit hole a bit. It's one of my things. I don't know where I am on the attention deficit spectrum. But I think it's more so for me, like I'll go down a rabbit hole and I cannot get out of the hole until I've solved that thing. Like I refuse to move to the next thing. I spent like half of my life yesterday working on Facebook covers for my Facebook. I just got so involved.
Yeah, that was not a good use of your time.
Yeah, that's the opposite of what we're talking about today. Right. That was not a productivity tip. So I need salvation here first. Oh, Goodman one. If I could just touch the hem of your garments, and you can help me. Amber didn't like that one.
In a totally non-creepy way.
Yeah, she's from the Bible Belt. She didn't like that reference. I feel you, Amber. I'm just right across the border, buddy. So, talk to us. Talk to us about productivity, John. The loaves of bread and fish. I did it again. Completely serious. Go ahead, sir. I digress.
Do stuff, John. Do stuff. Oh my goodness.
My stomach hurts.
Productivity. I think the most important thing about productivity is to not put too much pressure on yourself. You actually need to spend a lot less time working than you probably think, as long as you take the time beforehand to work on the things that matter and make sure that the time that you have to work on those things that matter is protected. And so I have a piece of writing that I like that says you're allowed to suck 930 minutes of every day. And what that means, most people are awake for 960 minutes of every day. Basically, if you do the math, that's like more or less what it works out to. And I say you're allowed to suck 930 minutes of every day as long as you're great for 30 minutes. Because the reality of it is 30 minutes of forward-thinking productive time in a single day, if you do that day in and day out, you'll actually find that you start to get ahead of your contemporaries if you can set that aside. So the question then is how do you protect that, right? That's not, the 30 minutes needs to be real work. That's not like you setting up your work, nothing like that. So how do you protect that? Well, you should figure out what is the most important task or tasks to do in that 30 minutes beforehand. And one of the ways that you figure that out is what is proactive? What is in that time you are building something to help move your business forward. You're not responding to inquiries. You might be creating content, but probably not. What you're doing in that time is you are either building an asset that's going to work for you, i.e. writing that book, filming that video, whatever it is that you're going to put out in the world and it's going to work for you in the future, or you're building out procedures and documentation so that you can begin the process of delegating your job. For example, Len, a much better use of your time yesterday, instead of you developing a Facebook cover, would have been you actually taking 30 minutes and writing down a checklist for imagery in your business that somebody else can follow. So that then, because if you just spend that time doing a Facebook image, well, now next time you're going to have to spend more time doing a Facebook image. If there's another image, you're going to have to do that image or whatever it is. If you could effectively write down a checklist that says everything needs to be in these things, it needs to be these colors, here's a bunch of images to choose from, boom, 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 boom. You can create that document in 30 minutes. Now, anytime you work with a designer, you go to Fiverr, you go to Upwork, whatever it is, you can give that document and say what you want to do and hand it off to them. Right. That's an example of a good use of 30 minutes versus a not good use of half a day.
Right.
In taking that time to build something that's really going to move you forward. And that 30 minutes every single day needs to be protected, which means that you are actually working for the 30 minutes. So if you need things in front of you, you actually have to set aside or work out a way to have all of the resources and everything on your desk or on your table or nightstand or whatever, whenever you're doing the 30 minutes. I say nightstand because I feel you, people with kids, like sometimes you got to hide in your bedroom and do work, but you have it wherever you need to, right? In front of you, so that when it's time to do the work, you have everything there. You're not searching for anything. You're not Googling articles of how to do it, whatever it is. You're not opening up documents that you're going to write in. You literally have everything there. And then the final piece of the puzzle is some sort of a trigger, which I use a ton in order to basically cue me into work, especially when you're working from home. And a lot of people now with COVID are working out of their homes. It's very, very hard to separate home and work. You're kind of half in, half out, half in, half out. It's hard to like be mentally focused into it. And I'm lucky because I've traveled so much and worked abroad so much that I've had to build in all of these habits that force me to do work well in very short periods of time in a ton of different situations, places, environments, from a house named Jericho in the middle of nowhere in Uruguay to a busy apartment in Argentina to the middle of the jungle with monkeys trying to steal my food in Costa Rica. Like it's everything, right? Where if you don't bring the habits with you, it'll be really, really hard. And so but it's the same thing if you're working from home, where you can't sort of separate. You need to be able to zone in like that on a whim. And the way to do that is to have some sort of a trigger. And that could be anything, but it needs to be either an activity or a song or a motion that you do, or a mantra, or a what's it called when you like look in the mirror and you say good things about yourself?
Affirmation.
Self-affirmation.
Yeah, you can tell that I don't do a lot of the eat, pray, love stuff, but like an affirmation, like any of those things work. For me, it's a song. So there's, if you ever watch Breaking Bad, like probably the greatest show ever, the end of the first season, the scene where Hank basically decides he's going to be a drug dealer is like the end of the first season, right? There's a song that plays that's a guitar song by Rodrigo y Gabriela, and it's Tamukin, I think I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, Carolina.
I can't remember the name.
But it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful guitar song. Anyway, that's my trigger song. So if you were to look at my iTunes at like the number of times that a song is played, that song is like thousands, because every single time I sit down, I play that song. Some people have a watch. So, they put on a different watch when they're working, they take their watch off and put it down beside their desk, and that's their trigger. Some people, like I said, have what's called an affirmation, a mantra or a special shirt that they wear or whatever it is. But yeah, it really doesn't matter what it is, but you kind of need something that's unique to you working. And I'm sure that there's physiology behind this. I've never really looked into it, but it just triggers your brain into, all right, cool, this is what I'm doing right now.
That's interesting. I'm not, that's the one thing that you've ever said that I'm totally unfamiliar with, the trigger. So Keto, you're in the field all day, every day. Even now, in the field, even now. Where would you rate your productivity? Let's say 1 to 10. 1 is Ren Jones and 10 is somebody who's not me. On a scale of Ren Jones to Jonathan Goodman, where would you rate your productivity? What do you think?
That's a really tough question to answer because it really does come and go for me. It's a hit and miss. Sometimes my brain is legitimately just not there and I have to adapt and just kind of like let it go and maybe go outside for a bit or read a book or do something else, like get myself out of like the need to jolt into work because that's right. Just not working, right? Like you need like a distraction and then coming back. However, one thing that I've noticed that really works well for me is setting my alarms like on my phone. I'm really good at specific tasks that are timed. If I have unlimited time, it will take me unlimited time to finish whatever it is that I want to do.
Right.
But if I set my timer for 10 minutes, I will kill the heck out of those 10 minutes. Like I will like get it because it's only 10 minutes and I got to beat the alarm. And it's like a competition with myself and it makes it fun. And that's engaging for me. And so that's the way that I try to keep productive.
So, Jonathan, first of all, it sounds like about a 3 to me out of 1 to 10. That's all I heard. But seriously, Jonathan, I remember reading a post of yours. This was early Calvin times, and I think you were in Toronto at that moment, and you were talking about how you've scheduled a lunch. You started scheduling lunch, and how having sort of speaking of what Carolina said, like having the constraint of time makes you more mindful. Could you like share with the people, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to wanting to be productive and also just like living a better life generally, structure breeds freedom. And the more constraints you give yourself, the more effective you're going to be. I like Carolina's thing with alarms. I take that one step further. Never go to a coffee shop with your computer charger.
I like that because
clever.
Yeah, I like that.
When your computer hits 10%, you will never be more productive.
Oh my God. That's like an adrenaline shot
10%.
right there. Like, oh my God.
No, it really is. But like legitimately that works. That's so works.
True.
And yeah, I mean, I still schedule a lunch in my day. I mean, we actually moved the podcast recording from 1 to 1:15 because I have basically like a lunch exercise slot, and because the gym around the corner is opened up for outdoor workouts, they do outdoor workouts at noon. And so I needed 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after to basically get there and do the workout and come back. But yeah, I mean, when I posted that is when I was working near the water, Toronto, one of my office was there, and Alice and Calvin would walk by and we'd have lunch together every single day. But it doesn't even really matter what it is. It's just a matter of forcing some sort of constraint. And the minute that you force a constraint, you work within those constraints. And that's both good and bad. You know, I had a conversation on the phone with one of our OTA2 students. I won't mention him. But basically, he came to me and he said, you know, he's really in a great position to grow his business. He's out in Australia. He's got a great reputation. Tons of people go for him. He has people paying him $1,000 a week for training. And he wants to basically get away from the in-person stuff. And he says, you know, people come for me. And so how do I remove myself when people are coming for me? And I said, this is going to be a shot in the ego gut for you. But I don't think that's true. I think you are probably perceiving yourself to be a lot more important than you think. I know because I've been through that. Because I used to think that if I wasn't heavily involved in the day-to-day delivery of our programs like the Online Trainer Academy, then people wouldn't sign up because they're coming for me, right?
Right.
Well, I got news for you, man. Other people can run the program better than I can. And so, you know, then, you know, that's when I started to really brand myself as like, as the creator is face of it, but like I'm not actually the one in it doing the work. But what's interesting is that, and where this comes into our conversation about constraints, is he had a story that he had told himself as if it were fact. But he did not know whether it was fact. But because he told himself that it was, he had no proof that it was fact or not, right? But because he was convinced that it was fact, all of a sudden he built all of these constraints around all of how his business could operate based off of this one thing. I can never remove myself because people are coming for me. Well, the minute we remove that constraint, all of a sudden now a much better business model for him illuminated, which is a conversation for another day, which I'll talk about, but it's out of this conversation. But constraints are both good and bad that way, right? Like they make it much more clear how to act and when to act, but you also have to be careful on them, because if you create them based off of insufficient knowledge in this case, or you just the truth, maybe it's true, maybe nobody will ever buy if he's not the one training, but like I have never seen that be the case ever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about like, a company that we're good friends with, that we do a lot of work with, like Precision Nutrition. It's like John Berardi left the company over 3 years ago. Yeah. Like sold the majority share, and it's run by a private equity firm. And they have very little involvement. I mean, they sit on the board, have very little involvement. Do you even know? Did you even notice that the emails now don't come from John at Precision Nutrition, but they come from info at Precision Nutrition? Did you even notice that?
No.
Exactly. This is a really strong point to drive across, because I see it, for example, in online training. I see it in other corporations, even in the nonprofit sector. Whenever you have an entire organization on the shoulders of just one person, like how sustainable can that be before it all comes crumbling down? If something happens to the person, or if they burn out, or if it's just not sustainable. And furthermore, like it's not a wise business practice. It just isn't. Right. Like that need to be all for everything at all times. Like you can't really, like you need people. We always have people, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be all you. You can be smart about it.
Go back to Ren's time spent doing his Facebook photo. What should you be building if you are building a business? You should be building assets that work for you. You should be creating the content. You should be creating the IP. You don't necessarily have to be the one delivering the IP. Like I think I said in the last episode, we're building our own online training business.
Yep.
Well, both myself and Alex, who's the head coach for the Online Trainer Academy, we're the strategists with it. Here's the crazy thing. We have a head coach coming on who I won't mention who it is yet. We'll announce it soon. But like one of the most well-respected, successful trainers in the world in the last 2 decades. And he's going to be, all of the programming, will come from him. And then we have Alex, who's basically the project manager for it, and me, who's kind of the brand, the founder of it. None of us are going to be working actively with clients.
Yeah.
But it's our IP, right? Like we're building out the systems, and so, and it's also our names and our reputations, which is largely what we're basing it on. And so as you try to think about time management, this isn't about like an app that you use. I don't care if there's an app for that. Apps don't make people more effective. Apps don't even make people more efficient. What matters is that you understand that you have to every single day start with 10 minutes if you can't start with 30. But 10 minutes on something that is going to move your business forward. Don't create a Facebook photo. Build a document so that the next time a Facebook photo needs to be created, or any photo needs to be created, you can hand it to somebody else. And that document is a checklist of what needs to be included, of how this thing, what colors do you use? What are your branding guidelines? What words do you use to describe your program? What kind of calls to action do you use? Give me that list. That's what you create in these 10 minutes. Do you have a book? Do you have a project you're working on? That's what you create in these 10 minutes. 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 30 minutes. And as you get better and better and better, hopefully you could find more time. Like for me, my entire Wednesdays every single week is that time now. But that doesn't happen overnight. And that's when things start to move really, really fast, by the way, which is super fun. But
so Jonathan, if you're correct, instead of building in terms of productivity, instead of building the widget, build the process that builds the widget. And you can hand the widget building process off to someone else if you need to.
When it's time to. Maybe you still are going to build the widget. Maybe you're still going to design the photo or go on Canva and do it or whatever, right? But there will come a time when you frankly don't want to do that anymore, where you can't, where it's bigger than you, or where you feel like your time is better spent. And if you can pay somebody $15 to do that photo,
why not? Exactly.
It is. But if you can't just hire somebody and say, build me a photo, because they're never going to build it well. It's going to take you so much time to be able to communicate them what's in that photo, that if you take the time to communicate those guidelines up front, and you say, build me a photo, here's the words I want on it, here's my guidelines, you have a much easier time handing off tasks. And it's obviously not just for photos, but.
Well, why didn't somebody just tell me that yesterday? You could have saved me a whole day.
Because it wasn't a podcast recording day. We don't.
That's right.
Yeah, you need to stop all your problems and issues until we have a podcast, and then they will get solved on the podcast.
I forgot we all agreed to only innovate our businesses during podcast hour.
That's exactly how that works. Yeah.
I'm so silly.
Seriously, I sit here every week, like twice a week when we do this, and I'm always like, oh shoot, I should be doing. Oh my god, I'm gonna start trying that. Oh my god, So I love hearing from both of you because I feel like I gain so much. So if our two listeners should too.
Happy to hear.
I learned the most through Ambrose's nonverbal cues.
Yeah. I love it when she's really just like covering her face and shaking no.
When
I'm
she
like,
shakes her head,
we're talking about the right thing.
Right,
we're in the right
made
direction.
An error.
Yeah.
Perfect. I learned so much from. And just 16, it's just amazing.
Let's do the show note trend because
is it show note time? Did we do it?
Yeah, because I got a
Instagram you got a thing.
Live.
He's got a thing
that I got to run to.
So first of all, thank you for tuning in to episode 14. Was it 14?
I think 15.
15. Holy crap.
because it's Tuesday. We're always odd numbers on Tuesdays.
Oh, that's right. Quinceañera. That's right.
Quinceañera.
Anyway, show notes, onlinetrainer.com/podcast. Hey, go over to iTunes, go over to Spotify, Stitcher, whatever the other thing is. All the places you can find podcasts, you can find this podcast. We even got a podcast on YouTube for you, for those who like to look at things. Go and like the podcast, share it, talk about it, give us a review. We need way more reviews. Bump up the numbers, give us 4 or 5 stars like your favorite Lyft driver. I've been Ren Jones, joined by the eloquent Jonathan Goodman, the effervescent Catalina Belamares, and the enigmatic Amber Reynolds. Amber, you got anything to say? She's a riddle wrapped in an enigma. No? Nice hat. Hey, and we all did wear black today. Is that a black dress, Catalina?
It's navy blue, but we'll pretend it's black.
Yeah, it's black for this episode. Yeah, so we all wore black today. That's amazing. 15's right around the corner from 14. Still tracking those numbers, Jonathan. I hope I'm making you proud. When we get to 20, I'm lost though. Somebody else will have to pick up the count from there.
Somebody will lend you their fingers. It's good.
Thank you. I think. This is episode 14. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys for episode 15. Working title.
No, 15. It'll be
15.
16.
Oh yeah, see? Already confused. Title to be determined. Thanks so much. Hit the jingle. Jingle.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show.
We shouldn't have a podcast.